Well, Jamie Cox, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. I guess the first question has got to be, how are you settling in?
Morning, Spencer. Yes, settling in well. It's I think I've been here 6 weeks now. It does feel like 6 months, but in a nice way, I must say. It's a decision I thought about long and hard. To actually leave the role I formerly enjoyed was difficult, but the lure back was strong, and I'm really pleased that I've made the leap. I think it's a club with great aspiration. It's a region with great opportunity. We've got a fantastic facility, a competitive team, great membership. We represent a very strong cricketing part of the nation, and I think our opportunities for growth, particularly now with Tier 1 women coming to join our club, I think the future looks bright. So to join at this time in the club's history, I'm really excited about what we can achieve.
Does it feel a little bit like coming home?
Look, it does a little bit. I tried to downplay that a bit. I mean, I had a natural lure back because I love the place. I love the people. I love everything about cricket in this region. But I also joined knowing this is not a romantic role. Like the business of county cricket is tough. We've got to make some hard decisions to ensure that our future looks bright. And I guess it does mean a bit more though when this club and this region does mean so much to me. It's always felt like coming home, driving down the M5. So no doubt when life gets a bit tougher and you've got to really dig in, that stuff helps. When this is not just a job, it's actually a purpose for me. So no, I'm really excited.
You touched on it there. It's a huge opportunity, isn't it? Because it is a unique club. It covers the whole of the southwest region. Whilst we don't have potentially the clout of the test match venues, we are a unique setting, aren't we? Because we've got such a huge catchment area, and cricket means so much to the people of the region.
Yeah, I don't think Somerset instinctively is seen by many as being a big county, but we are. We represent a large chunk, a large part of the population from Somerset further southwest. I've been regularly told over almost 5 million people live in this part of the country. And it's a very cricket region. Cricket is really important to the people of Taunton and to the people of Somerset and to this whole region. So there's a great responsibility for us, I think, to present a great service and for us to make our ground and our club a real lure to the people, not only locally, but for that whole part of the country, because we do represent a heck of a lot of people. And connect with them, I think increasingly more, and do so very proudly. So it's a big responsibility that we hold, but I've been really proud of what I've seen so far of how the club does value that and does really try and connect with its whole region and not just with its locality. So I think it adds to the opportunity I think the club has.
You touched on the ground there. The Cooper Associates County Ground isn't the biggest ground on the circuit, is it? But just looking out the windows, it is the most stunning, isn't it?
It's in the grand final. I was lucky enough, I say, to spend 2.5 years looking down the pitch at Lords. That's pretty special, but it is an amazing place. There's a magic in the air here, and I say that as someone who proudly played here for a long period of time, but also to come back, it's still a fantastic cricket environment. People here love their cricket, and they're very invested in their cricket. I think we need to respect that and try and make that experience as good as possible for our cricket-loving people and our players. I mean, our players are very loyal to this part of the world and they love playing for the club. And we've got a very, very competitive team right now that we need to support and help win as well. So, it's a nice mix of circumstances I think we find ourselves in right now.
Are you coming into the role with the club in a good place?
I believe so. I'm very fortunate to have accepted the business of cricket, if you like, from Gordon in very good shape. We're proudly profitable. It doesn't come easily. We have to sacrifice to get there and make some hard decisions. But the business is in good shape, and our cricket's in good shape. As I said, we've got a good squad of really talented and experienced players that have experienced success and now expect success. I was pleased to read on researching for the role that we've played more Division 1 cricket than any other county, which is quite testament to our cricket program and everything that we've done. And even inheriting the Western Storm to come in as Somerset women in the near future. They haven't had a recent success, but that is a franchise that's experienced success in its iteration. So, we hope that bringing them into our environment it can only have a natural effect and help them regain some of those glory days of their own.
Let's focus on that now. We've talked about Western Storm and the future of Somerset cricket. There's been a lot of talk about Tier 1 status. Somerset put in a bid and have achieved that. Maybe for those who don't know, what exactly does that mean, Tier 1 status?
Well, can I say it sort of all evolved as I was before I'd taken on the role, and I sat on the outside of it, really proud of the work that went into it. It was an impressive pitch. It was a very authentic pitch, and it proved to me that our club and our region really gets women's cricket and women's sport, and we're actually trying to win the pitch for very genuine reasons. To actually have it now, I think, is incredibly exciting and important for our club moving forward. We want to be at the top table for cricket. To actually have a senior men's and women's team in elite competitions is really important for that and for our club moving into the future. So short term, we want to try and embrace our women's team. We want to make sure this is their home. I know they're very keen to have a home. They've been quite nomadic across their existence to date. So to help them feel and see and appreciate everything I guess our men have had for so many years is an immediate goal. But I do see this being just a wonderful sporting hub for both men and women, and for the next, let's say 3 to 10 years, for this to evolve into a place where not only young men can aspire to replicate the deeds of their heroes, but young women, young girls can now grow up and they can be what they can see. They can see these young women forging their own careers and aspire to be great at a sport that might have been out of reach not so long ago.
It's not just important for the women's game, because the women's game is evolving massively, isn't it? It is important for the game as a whole, isn't it? Why is it so important for Somerset County Cricket Club to be here, at the top table of both men and women's cricket right at the very inception of this process?
Well, I think it's critical for the game to be a game for all. Women have always loved the game of cricket and have always played the game of cricket. But other than sort of little patches, it's sort of been out of touch and out of reach to play it at an elite level and to have it as a career, a professional sporting career. If you want to talk of the game in terms of growth, which is really important for our game, to understand that we need more people loving and following the game of cricket. We can't afford to ignore 50% of the population, and to actually continually chip away at this being an equitable professional career for young women as well as young men, I think is incredibly important to not only our club, our region, our game. We'll all benefit once we really embed the women into our culture here at Somerset.
You've touched on what the goals are short term and long term. What are the next steps going to be on this process?
Well, critically, to actually welcome the women into our environment is a challenge. A challenge we'll accept happily. We've been a proud men's cricket club for almost 150 years next year, so we can't just say it's going to happen easily or without some sort of compromise or some sort of little bumps in the road along the way. What we have to do is be agile and understand that in this search for parity, there is going to be some need for people to sort of jump out of their comfort zone and to welcome each other to the environment. So I think that's going to be it's going to be a well-considered exercise. It won't be straightforward, but I think it'll be successful because I know that the people around the pitch and the club is authentically looking to welcome in the current Western Storm group into Somerset. So the next few months we've got to go through this, the part legal, part human process to actually bring a lot of people on board into our club, which has its challenges, but we're looking forward to getting to the starting line in good shape.
It's a time for change, but it's an exciting time, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, the game's in good health. The game, it's moving all the time. There's a lot of talk about the challenge to, the summer and the 100 and everything else, but basically the game is in good shape. There are a lot more opportunities than certainly my playing era enjoyed. In some ways, I think it was a simple time going back 20 years where you had a very simple goal to try and play for your country, and if you weren't good enough, then you just tried to play as well as you could at the level below. But players these days have choice. It's an exciting world for a player, but it's also a complex world for players these days to try and keep all elements of their game in good order. It's it's very tough because there's great rewards for players these days, but there seems to be also some pitfalls that that if they don't manage them well. So, look, I think the game is in this interesting evolution where it's still probably a little bit unsettled, but I sort of firmly believe that the game has this wonderful habit of enduring. You know, it has this great presence to actually just see throughout any of this change and still deliver what it can deliver for all the fans, because there aren't many forms of sport that can accommodate three very viable different formats that can attract different crowds. And we've got to treat that as an asset and not see it as the enemy.
The Somerset members and supporters are pretty much the best in the business, and they're such an integral part of the club. How can they support us on this journey?
Well, I think just purely through understanding. I mean, again, I'll reinforce part of the reason I come back is I've just had such a great existence with the people in this part of the world. I've pretty openly said we won't agree on everything. That's okay. But I know the passion in cricket here, and I think if our people keep bringing that passion, keep bringing that support, but also keeping an open mind that there are these various formats of the game that are bringing in new people who ordinarily might not come to cricket, then I think if we get that in balance, that is how our club and how our game will thrive, is that everybody has this understanding that all these various formats come together to make this the great game that we enjoy.